It gives me great pleasure to join you here today at the opening of the Ghana office of the World Business Angels Investment Forum. And Ghana, the gateway to Africa, is proud to be the first country in West Africa to host a WBAF office. We are always happy when we come before Nigeria. I warmly welcome you all, and we say Akwaba. And I encourage you to feel at home, enjoy the sight and sounds of our everyday commerce, and enjoy the proverbial Ghanaian hospitality. Professor Chairman, Ghana's support for the private sector in transforming the economy is not in doubt. Our government strongly believes that sustainable growth and meaningful transformation can only come from a strong private sector, with government playing its fitting catalytic and oversight role. A Ghana beyond aid is not possible without the private sector playing its proper role. In the course of the past 2.5 years, we've made significant strides in the socioeconomic development of this country. We are mindful, however, about ensuring macroeconomic stability from both the fiscal and monetary sides so that businesses can make long-term investment decisions. We are also mindful of the need for growth and job creation, as well as the need for policy interventions to promote economic inclusion of citizens. The results that we have seen so far are growing confidence in the economy, both nationally and internationally. GDP growth has picked up, and last year, Ghana recorded one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and it is also projected that this year we will be one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The deficit has been reduced. We brought it down to 3.9% of GDP at the end of 2018, from 9.3% at the end of 2016. Inflation is also downward, it's now at 9.1%, and has been in single digits for a while, which is the lowest in the last 6 years. Interest rates, even though still high for our liking, is trending downwards. The trade balance is in surplus and expected to remain so for this year. And this is the first time in more than a decade that the trade balance has gone into surplus. We have a much more liberalized regime for FDI, addressing investors' concerns, privatizing public enterprises, and so on in Ghana. Again, the Ghanaian government has expanded the scope for FDI by reducing the number of industries closed to foreign investors. Ghana has increasingly become integrated into the global economy through trade and financial market channels. And in terms of trade exposure, the country has become more exposed to the United States, United Kingdom, and the Euro area, as well as China. From January to December this year, GIPC directly registered 168 projects with a total estimated value of some $3.5 billion. Of the 168 registered projects, 45 are into manufacturing, 42 representing 25% of the total are engaged in the services sector, whereas 28 are into general trade. 117 of the 168 of these are wholly foreign owned, with total investment of $2.89 billion, and the remaining 51% were joint ventures between Ghanaians and their foreign counterparts. Our efforts, ladies and gentlemen, at national development under President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been recognized by the international community. and the opening of the World Business Angels Forum office in Accra, as we are witnessing today, confirms the growing acceptance that Ghana is open for business in a safe and predictable environment. We are a haven for peace and stability, indeed, the safest country in West Africa. Ours is a country where we insist on the respect for democratic accountability, rule of law, and human rights. And lest we forget, we are not resting on our achievements. Maintaining peace, stability, protection of life and property is always our work in progress, and they are not, of course, costless activities. Our ultimate goal is to be the most business-friendly economy in Africa. That is the goal we set ourselves in 2017, where the private sector and the business community are at the center of building a progressive and prosperous country. And we have witnessed this growing partnership that since we've been here between government and the private sector. In all our efforts to transform the economy, entrepreneurship has been identified as a vital component of economic growth and development. There is growing recognition, however, among governments and international organizations that youth entrepreneurship is a relevant strategic tool to address youth job creation challenges. Entrepreneurial intensity in Ghana is high. The Global Entrepreneurship Monitor ranks Ghana as the second most entrepreneurial country in sub-Saharan Africa. It is for this reason that government introduced the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, NEIP, under the Ministry of Business Development to provide an integrated national support for early-stage startups and small businesses, focusing on the provision of business development service, business incubators, and funding for young-owned businesses. We have the business entrepreneurship support programs for the physically challenged, the Students Entrepreneurship Initiative, the Women Entrepreneurship Initiative, and others. Government has also embarked on an industrialization program under the theme One District, One Factory. The goal is to promote business initiatives at the grassroots level and also to promote value addition to our agricultural products. It is our expectation that the World Business Angels Investment Forum will help ease access to finance for Ghanaian businesses from startups to scale-ups. A dynamic economy can only sustain growth if we continually promote business startups. And sometimes the best way to do this is through angel investments that can truly assess the opportunities and potential challenges of new business ventures. As a global organization, we believe that the World Business Angels Investment Forum is uniquely placed to help raise funds for our entrepreneurs, to enable them to expand their businesses and to create jobs. We therefore invite the WBAF to partner government to find new financing schemes for businesses in Ghana. In fact, the challenges faced by businesses, small and large, in Ghana is really something that has bedeviled us as a country, not only in Ghana, but in many developing countries, Africa and beyond. The interest rate environment. Interest rates are so high for our businesses. Access to credit. You were saying that the banks want us to come and beg, isn't it? To beg them to give us credit. UBA is sitting here because they feel that it is essentially a seller's market in that sense, right? You need to go and beg in a way. Access to credit is a big, big problem. collateral matters that face people who try to access credit from banks. It's a major issue. So many people in many of our countries are excluded from the financial system, which means that so many people are not banking. And that means that a lot of savings are outside the financial system. When savings are outside the financial system, then there is a problem structurally, because the interest rates are determined by demand and supply. The supply comes from savings. So if savings are not there or they are kept elsewhere, then structurally the interest rates will be higher than otherwise would have been the case. So the financial exclusion is also a major challenge to the problem that businesses are facing because they suffer the collateral damage. This issue is a very, very important issue, and it is one that we've thought about for quite a while. And it is one that has to be addressed by any country. Of course, angel investors and so on will operate within an economic environment. But it was a paper that I read sometime around 1999 that got me thinking along the lines that we are thinking now in many areas. It was written by an American political economist, Francis Fukuyama, who talked about social capital. Because in macroeconomic management, we are always talking about bring inflation down, bring the deficits down, and so on. What is clear is that that may be necessary, but it may not be sufficient as a condition. What is social capital? Because this was essentially the point of Fukuyama's thesis, right? The social capital was so key. And essentially, I think if you define social capital, he will talk about the radius of trust. What is the radius of trust that exists in the society? If you don't have trust in the society, then businesses are going to have a hard time. Because everybody will be looking at you very funny because you are not trusted. In the old days of our forefathers, the operation of barter was taking place, right? You bring your yams and maybe I'll return with some fish or some pots. And in the old days, the trust was such that people will come and leave their wares and go away, right? They will leave them there and go away. And then you will come and then give what you think is a fair exchange, leave it there, take it, and go away. Can you imagine that happening now? You just go and put your phones on the road and go away, and someone should come and bring you something else. You'll never see it again. That is what we've lost somehow in there. Today, when you go to the bank to borrow money, the trust issue is a problem. First of all, you're even going to open an account. Who are you? Can they verify your identity? In case you don't pay the loan, can they find where you live to come and collect it? Right? The address insists. Can we find where people live? If you bring collateral, can they verify the ownership of that piece of land you want to mortgage? Can they? Sometimes it's very difficult even for banks to enforce collateral. When it comes to enforcing, when they get to court, they may be in court for 12 years. This is reality. They may be in court for 12 years trying to enforce a piece of collateral. When you even lend your own friends money, sometimes you end up quarreling with them. You may not see them again because the promises they make about paying back the money is not there. You know, so when someone is selling you land, you are in trouble because it may have been sold 3 or 4 times already before it's being sold to you. There is no trust, so you have to hurry up and build as quickly as you can before, you know, anything else happens, and then you have all sorts of problems. Even when someone issues you a check, you are not sure because you go and it will be bouncing more than a basketball will bounce. You know, the trust is not there. You know, a vehicle is supposed to be insured. And a lot of people are driving uninsured vehicles. So you bought even a commercial vehicle and you are not sure if there is insurance there. But they can come up with fake certificates and so on. So these are the issues. The nature of the social capital, the lack of trust in our societies, that keeps interest rates very high. That keeps access to capital very, very low. That is a major, major issue. When I was in the UK, for example, you could go and put in a coin, right, to buy the newspaper. You put in your 20 pence, you open, and then you pick one copy of your newspaper and go. And I kept wondering how this system will survive in Ghana. Because someone will put in 20 pence and carry all the newspapers in there and they'll be gone. You find it in different places. You know, but the trust is what allows that system to work. And so what we are doing, and this is what is so important that everybody understands, what we are trying to do is to build the social capital. We are doing the macro side. We are bringing the macroeconomic stability that is happening. We've known how to do that for a while, but what we haven't done since independence is to build the social capital or the system that allows the social capital to work. And so this is why we are engaged in this major digitization exercise. The digitization exercise is really an exercise in helping put together the social capital that we have been lacking, so that you automate so many things that you don't have to decide whether you need to trust this or not to trust it, that the trust will come from the system because the system exists. So this is why we've started the national ID system. By the end of March, God willing, next year, we will have completed that exercise. We've completed the national addressing system, the digital addressing system, starting on, when is the 8th? What date is today? 6, yeah. So starting on the 8th, the Nation Builders Corps will be moving throughout the country. They've been given up to December. Every district in the country, the Nation Builders Corps, I think they are going to be about 15 to 20,000 of them, moving to put the digital addressing on all properties. Because we feel that it has to be done. Tagging of the so at least 4 million homes should be tagged by the end of December this year. So we will complete, therefore, the addressing matter. The third pillar to this exercise that we are trying to do in building of social capital is the pillar of financial inclusion. This is how we are trying to make sure that everybody who needs to have a bank account has practically a bank account, is in the financial system. And this is why we have focused a lot working with the banks and the telcos on mobile money interoperability. Because we know that in terms of bank accounts, we have much fewer people who have bank accounts. But we have 34.5 million people who have mobile money accounts in a population of just under 30 million. Of course, we have more than one telco that we have, right? So we thought that the easiest way to get banking to most people is to make the mobile accounts, money accounts, interoperable with the bank accounts, so that essentially you can make payments into a bank account from your mobile wallet, right, and receive payments from a bank account into your mobile wallet. Ghana is the only country in Africa to have done this. Only country. And that is essentially, practically, with what we have done, practically, everybody with a mobile money account, a mobile wallet, practically has access to basic banking services. Practically. That's what we have done. And so Ghana has really been able, through the mobile money interoperability, to leapfrog and to bring financial inclusion into this country. And that is where now we stand. And this digitization process, as I said, we are going to go in cashless in the government payments. By the end of June next year, we expect all payments for government services to be cashless, to be electronic, right? All payments. We will no longer take cash. You'd only have to use, because it will bring more accountability. We did an experiment at the Ministry of Tourism to do cashless, and that experiment resulted in a 4-fold increase in revenue. So it means the money was going somewhere else. Right? So we are saying, okay, we will no longer just trust people. We will digitize the process across from all the MDAs, district assemblies, all the way to the ministries. Everybody will pay, because now you cannot say you can't pay electronically, because you can use your mobile wallet and pay into a government account. You can also receive government payments to your mobile account. So we don't now need to just trust people. The system has now been put in place so that everybody will be compliant. And this is what we are doing. We are going to digitize the land registry. We have started the process so that you can check to see who really owns any piece of land, regardless of whether you are in Ghana or not. You just go to the internet, you put in the details, and it will tell you who owns this piece of land. That's the heart of the problems that we are actually having in that. We've digitized the court processes, so the area, now it's not possible anymore to have missing documents in the courts, because we've digitized the processes and we don't have to rely on any particular staff and all of that. The systems are now being digitized and so on. So this is where we think government can make a major contribution in building this social capital. And I am sure within the next 2 to 3 years, it's not long, within the next 2 to 3 years, Ghana should be the most digitized economy in Africa. That one is not long, within 2 to 3 years. But in doing so, that digitization will build the heart of the social capital that we are talking about. And with that in place, if the banks don't have to worry about identity, about addresses, about collateral, who owns it, all of that, then the risk of lending will come down. And that is how we can sustainably bring down interest rates. So I expect that with all that we are doing, it's going to impact on the business community, on small and large businesses. Interest rates should come down. If they don't, then we will have issues to deal with the banks in that sense. But that is where we are going, because you have to address the problems and the challenges that we have. But I think that with the way we are going, this is going to be an exciting economy to live in another 3 years. Because what we are going to do after March next year is integrate all the databases, because you now will have one unique identifier for everybody, the national ID, which will become essentially the unique ID, whether you're going for taxes or you're going for bank accounts or you're going for mobile phones, your health, police record, GRA records. We are bringing all of them together. Big data, right? And with that, right now, for example, we are in the process of integrating the DVLA database with the insurance database, right? Hopefully by the end of the year to come into play, which means any policeman can look at your number, put it in their mobile, and they can tell whether this car is insured or not. They don't have to trust your fake certificate that you give. The system will tell them immediately. Once they put in the driver's license plate, it will tell them two things. One is the plate fake or genuine. It will also tell them whether the car is insured or not. So they don't need to look at your windscreen to see if you have insurance or whatever. It's a very, very good system. Once we start integrating these databases, then you will have this social capital that we have been lacking, because it is going to then be delivered by the systems that we are putting in place. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've spoken enough. I think Ghana is on the way. We've got a lot of work to do. We are going to be the trade hub as the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and we should get a lot of advantages to it. But we believe that working together with the private sector is the key to going beyond aid. Thank you very much for your attention. So, on this note, I would like to, with all honor and with privilege, would like to declare the WBAF office in Accra, Ghana, formally opened and launched. Thank you very much.